Welcome to WagerTalk TV, everyone. Minty Bets here with Rob Vino at Rob Vino Sports on Twitter. That's VENO. And Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers. We're talking Steelers and Browns, guys, taking place January 3rd. The Browns are favored by 10 whole points. Total set at a low 42.5. Not uncommon for the Steelers in their normal season. So, Rob, what do you think about this game?
Well, these Week 17 games, Minty, like we were just talking off air a little bit, they get tricky, and they get real
Mhm.
tricky when you start putting backups into the game. As soon as Mason Rudolph was announced as the starting quarterback instead of Ben Roethlisberger, there goes the line, all the way to 10 points.
Mhm.
Now, you're just handicapping against numbers now. Do you feel let's start with Mike Tomlin said. Yes, he's going to a backup quarterback, but no, it's not going to be a full onslaught of backups in this game. Might be a couple of
Mhm.
guys that might not play aside from Roethlisberger, but for the most part, he's playing everybody. Might use him in a rotational type of situation. But the Steelers are coming to play, and the Steelers are coming to win this football game. It's interesting that if they do lose, we could end up with this matchup once again next week in the playoffs. 3 versus 6 could end up being Pittsburgh, Cleveland all over again. So
Mhm.
we'll see what they do here. But the first time around, it was 38-7 Pittsburgh. They dominated. I'm sure in Cleveland's case, there's a lot of motivation for that. Obviously, their motivation doesn't need to be added to because they have to win this game to get into the playoffs, basically. They do control their own destiny. They could still get in with some help. We're waiting on their 4 wide receivers. It looks like Thursday, maybe their whole receiving core will turn up for practice. And if they do get those guys, I wouldn't be surprised if the line goes a little bit again from there. But for me, I think the price just gets too high right here. It's not something that I'm overjoyed with, but when you're going to give Pittsburgh 10 points in a game that looks to me as if it will be running game for Cleveland for the most part, some short passing, but not a lot of scoring in cold weather. 10 just seems like an overlay here. Like I say, I don't know that I'll get there, guys. It's really hard to handicap until we know for sure who Tomlin is going to sit aside from Roethlisberger. But again, it doesn't look like, according to his quotes today, it wouldn't be that much. I don't know that the difference between Mason Rudolph and Ben Roethlisberger, the way he's played the last 6 weeks, is worth the 6-point move. So I think I'd probably lean slightly towards Pittsburgh in this game plus points.
I also lean Pittsburgh. Teddy, what do you say?
See, I've gotten something of a different sense of what the Steelers are going to
Okay.
do this week because Pittsburgh, they have very little chance. They need multiple upsets to actually earn a number one. They can't earn a number one seed. So there's nothing for Pittsburgh to gain with a victory. So when Tomlin's
Mhm.
talking about, yeah, it's going to be Mason Rudolph, and I don't disagree with Rob's assessment that right now Rudolph versus Roethlisberger, not a huge drop off. But I'm not convinced that we're going to see Pittsburgh playing their receiving core in the second half, Pittsburgh with starters in the field in the second half of this game. They may start the game with their regular players by the second half when point spread outcomes are determined. I'm not convinced that's going to be the case. And of course, it's a Steelers team that cannot run the football. All right. Again, last week, just 20 yards on the ground. The only thing they can do is pass. And if you're going with the backup quarterback and your receivers aren't playing, you may not pass all that much. The interesting thing for Cleveland, look, everything went wrong for the Browns last week, including the situation with the receivers sitting out for COVID, including the situation where their practice, they were doing walkthroughs with the receivers that they called up from the practice squad in the parking lot before the game
Oh my
because they were that far, they weren't up to speed. And when you're doing walkthroughs with
gosh.
receivers that you've just called up the practice squad in the parking lot before the game, you're not likely to win that game, let alone cover as a favorite. And they didn't.
Mhm.
Baker Mayfield took all the heat for that. Quote, this one's on me. But here's the thing, this one's going to sit for a day or two, but we got the Steelers to win and get in. The Kevin Stefanski quote, you win next week and you're in. What's ahead of us is everything we set out to do this season. I certainly think that the Browns are capable of playing a much better game than they did last week. But I guess, overlooked in the loss to the Jets was the fact that the offensive line stunk last week, and it was baffling to me. They'd only taken 1 sack since week 13. Mayfield got pounded against the Jets. He took 4 sacks in that game. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt combined 15 carries for 39 yards. The Browns can't move the football, and the Steelers can't move the football. 42.5 might be a lofty total for these two teams to get to. I lean under for Pittsburgh, Cleveland.
Wow, I'm loving the Steelers on the road unders. That is an angle that our very own Ralph Michaels has. Very, very convincing. All right, guys, thank you so much. $2 Tuesday is live at WagerTalk.com every Tuesday on WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. The hottest handicappers' best bet is only $2 that day. No promo code necessary. Just go on and buy their best bet. Thank you, guys.